Yes, guys, and welcome to today's training. So, we're going to move on a little bit from the last training when we briefly discussed overcoming fear and procrastination. So, I'm just going to recap it really quickly. By the way, there's also a lot of people who haven't watched the previous training, so do please make sure you are watching them because they all build on from each other. So we talked about the two key things that hold everybody back in all areas of life are fear, which isn't really fear, it's a feeling of discomfort. So you have no chance of death or injury if you are thinking about changing careers. You have no chance of death or injury if you're thinking about leaving a toxic relationship, starting a business, going to the gym, sorting your life out, losing weight, eating healthy, stopping drinking, stopping taking drugs, testing yourself, trying new hobbies, meeting new people, asking a boy or a girl out, as we've said. Absolutely none of those involve any chance of serious injury or serious death. Unless the girl or boy's got a husband or wife, then there might be a chance of serious injury. So be careful who you ask out. But you get the point, right? Yet we all say these things. I'm afraid of this. I'm afraid of that. Bullshit. You are avoiding the feeling of discomfort. You have a worry about the way the outcome of the thing that you say you're afraid of may make you feel. That's it. So we got really clear on that, avoidance of discomfort. We then spoke about the decision to change. So if we want to change anything in life, we have to make a decision to change. You can't keep talking about what it is you want to do. Talking about not being happy in your relationship. Talking about not being happy in your job. Talking about being overweight and unfit and wanting change. Talk is cheap. Talk is pointless. Talk is wasted energy. Action is the only answer. And as we said, action brings change. Action builds courage. So remember, A, B, C. We then talked about the three ways that fear shows up, which is procrastination, i.e. I'm full of shit and I'm not doing this because I'm afraid. When what it really mean is I'm doing this because I don't like the way that it potentially might make me feel based on a memory of the past. So we're shackled by the memories of the past and being held back by them, not being pulled by an inspired vision of the future. It also shows up in overwhelm. You know, that too busy thing you keep talking about as to why you can't do the thing that you want. It shows up in terms of worry, anxiety, and overthinking. And it also shows up in seeking permission from other people. This is such a big one that holds people back. I was going to do X and then I asked my partner and they said it wasn't a good idea, so I didn't do it. I was going to do X, but I asked all my fucking loser mates who have never done what it is that I want to do and then decided against it because they didn't all agree with me. I wanted to start a business, but I kept asking my mum and dad who have never run a business in their life, and funnily enough, they told me it wasn't a good idea to run a business. So we seek permission and validation from other people to take action towards the one we think. And we very often seek it from the wrong people. So that was the recap of the last session, but do please go back and watch it. Now, three other ways that fear and procrastination show up and hold you back from achieving what you want are three pains. The pain of loss. What if I sign up for the course and don't do the work and lose the money? What if I dump the toxic bitch and then I can't find another toxic bitch? What if I quit my career and I can't find a better one? Pain of loss, okay? Pain of losing something. We don't go after the thing that we want because we're afraid of losing what we've got. This is the inappropriate need for certainty. This is why people would rather keep their feet safe on the sands of the beach than dive into the sea and swim out towards the sunset. That's a great analogy. I'll stay here because it's safe, it's secure. Until there's a fucking tsunami, and then guess what? What you thought was secure wasn't anyway. So you should have just swam for the sunset anyway. So what if I invest and lose the money? What if I do the course and I'm not good enough? What if I don't do the work? This is the big one. Obviously, you guys know I get on a lot of calls with people now. And I call them straight out on their own bullshit. Because if they're bullshitters, I can't be arsed working with them. And I also tell them that very clearly as well. Everyone has the money to invest in coaching. Your iPhones cost more than 99% of coaching plans. Every single person has time to do the work. You just need to reduce your screen time. What people really say when they use the words, I can't afford it or I'm too busy, is what they mean is I'm a lazy fucker and I think there's a high chance I'm not going to do the work and make excuses because I'm more committed to staying the same than I am to changing. So of course I don't invest my money because I'm going to lose it, because I know after 2 weeks of trying, I'm going to give up because I'm a fucking pussy and I'm going to go back to my old mates at the pub because this tracking calories thing isn't for me. People do the same in changing careers. It's not that they really don't believe they can do the thing, it's that they know there's a high chance they won't do the work. So either they won't start training with some ridiculous fucking excuse like I don't know how to use the machines. Ask someone. The person who built the machine didn't know how to use the machine one day. Ask a coach, ask a friend, ask someone else in the gym. This is why people join a gym and never go. So people often aren't afraid of the change. They're not afraid of the thing. Talking crap, as I said. What they're afraid of is based on their past experience of themselves, because they don't trust themselves. They're afraid of changing because they won't do the work because they know they're going to give up when it gets tough. That's the mindset of the person that needs to change. And what does that come down to? Drop me a comment if you know. Look how lopsided my shoulder is now. Let me know in the comments if I've got them open, yeah. The reason why people avoid the change and use fear as an excuse, and which then leads to procrastination, including that first feeling of the 3 pains that we believe might happen, which is why we avoid it. The first one, as I said, being the pain of loss. It comes down to identity. To change, you have to change your identity. If you're going to get results and you're a person who has a history of making stupid, silly, pathetic excuses, if that hurts, good. You have to change your identity from an excuse maker who has the habit of not doing the work, quitting at the first hurdle, going back to the JOB, going back to the pub, going back to the takeaway, going back to the toxic mates who don't call you out on your own bullshit because you didn't like the WhatsApp group because all that seeing people doing the work was triggering you. Fuck me. Then it means you have to shift the identity from all of those things and those habits. You have to step up. You have to change. You have to upscale your behavior to become part of the peer group that you're investing to be part of, the people that want to win and see you go higher and take you to the next level, or you can leave and go back to your old loser mates, as I said, who don't call you out on your own bullshit. But that's a decision. One's hard, one's easy. Choose your hard. Going to the gym's hard, sitting on the couch is easy. Choose your hard. Cooking a beautiful steak with ninja air fried potato wedges and a medley of green beans is slightly harder than ordering another takeaway. Choose your hard. Going through the interview process and finding a new job and getting your dream career is hard. Staying in your same job and moaning about it is hard. But everything what everyone's done up until this point in life, right, has become your identity, has become you. And the truth is, all of us, including me, especially when I used to like doing 3 to 4 bags of nose candy on a Saturday night and staying out, dancing on tables until 6 o'clock in the morning before going back to an after party and sitting in the kitchen until tea time on Sunday. That became my identity. Party Lee, fun Lee, Lee who always wanted to carry on, Lee who was the life and soul, Lee who was the party man, became my identity. And the reality is, deep down, if we're honest, I kind of quite liked that guy. He was quite cool. He didn't have any responsibilities, didn't have any cares in the world. He just went to the next party and the next weekend. But this is the reality, right? Whether that's me or Fat Karen who likes cake, or Toxic John who just wants to moan about his job and his boss and his employees and how nobody ever supports him, nobody ever listens to him, or anyone in between, you have to let go of that person to move on. You have to say, ta-ta, Party Lee, no more nose bag. You have to say, ta-ta, Karen, no more cake for breakfast. You have to say, ta-ta, John, no more chippy tea on the way home. No more moaning, no more blaming, no more claiming. Ownership, identity, responsibility, and move. So what the pain of loss is the pain of the loss of losing the identity of the person that we've been for the last 30, 40 years. Of course we're attached to them. So if that's you, just think about that and journal it today. You can't have the identity of the person who says, a woman said this to me the other day and it triggered me into the middle of next week. I'm not giving up our chippy tea every Friday because it's what we do as a family. Okay, see you later. So that's become so ingrained in the identity because it's easy and she can't be bothered cooking, that she's ingraining that in 3 children that are aged 3, 6 and 9 from the age of those ages, that every week, not once in a while as a treat, which I'm not saying is wrong, every week we abuse our body with junk food on a Friday because it's who we are as a family and what we do. Absolute lie. Absolute lie. That's why it triggered me. What she means is, I'm tired after work on Friday and I can't be arsed cooking, so it's easier to stop and just pick up 40, 50 quid's worth of shit. She probably moans about not being able to afford coaching as well. Picks up 40, 50 quid's worth of shit from the entire family and sits there and binges on it and eats until they're sick. Virtually. That's not a family experience. That's not what part of family life should be. Anyway, I'm off on a rant. Same experience. Cook a nice meal for everyone. So the pain of losing who we have become. Does that make sense? Drop me a virtual wave or drop a comment. So we kind of, even though we know they're not good, we like who we've become, just like I liked Party Lee. But in order to become who I have and live the life I am, I had to say goodbye to him. So you might have to do the same. So it's the pain of losing who you've become. You know, other pain of losses. I'm going to lose the comfort. Karen's going to lose the comfort of cake. Tiffany's going to lose the comfort of takeaways. Christina's going to lose the comfort of chippy teas. And it's easy and it's quick. So I'm going to lose the comfort of that if I start taking my health and my fitness seriously. What if I lose friends? Hands up if you've lost friends because you started sorting your habits out. Fucking hundreds of them. Turns out I wasn't quite as popular as I thought once I didn't have an 1/8 of Charlie in my pocket every night out. What if I lose respect? What if I try and change and I can't? What if people laugh at me? What if I let myself down? You're already letting yourself down. So how do we flip this? How do we get rid of all those feelings of the pain of loss? Who knows? Rather than focusing on what you have to lose, and I'm not talking about the 3 stone of weight you're carrying, focus on what you have to gain. What you have to gain. I'm not focusing on losing the security of the job that I hate. I'm focusing on the passion and fulfillment of the job I want to find. I get to gain confidence, more money, more health, more wealth, more time, more freedom, more clarity, more focus. If I train, I get to live longer. I get to be a better role model. I get to improve my mental health. I get to be an example, not a warning. I get to inspire my kids. I get to drop my loser mates and become mates with inspired people on the same mission as me. Voila, unbreakable. You focus on what you have to gain and you strategically journal them and put them in 2 different columns. Right, if I do insert possible habit, if I do insert possible action, what do I have to lose? What do I have to gain? And you'll quickly see you have so much more to gain. You know, a typical business example would be, I get to lose the security of my £3,000 a month job that barely covers the bills, and I could potentially gain the freedom and wealth of a £10,000 a month business that allows me to live my wildest dreams. Which one sounds more inspiring? I get to lose my toxic family habit of smashing in 50 quid's worth of chippy tea on a Friday, and I get to save that £50, cook a healthy meal for my children, be an example, not a warning, have the same quality time with them, and lose weight and be a role model, be an example. You have a lot, anything that's toxic in your life, you have so much more to gain by getting rid of it than you do to lose by getting rid of it. So you flip that one by focusing only on what you have to gain, not what you have to lose. Those who want to come on the latest event will gain the experience of a lifetime. Focus on what you have to gain by coming. Some of you might be thinking, and it isn't even that hard, by the guys. Hopefully you guys all saw the details in the WhatsApp group, the other one yesterday. For anyone who thinks it's too tough, remember Logan's coming. So if a 6-year-old can do that entire weekend and you think it's too tough and you can't come, you shouldn't be in this group. End of. Case closed. Because everyone can do it. Anyone can do it. It's set up for anyone to do it. You don't even have to pay for your own food or your hotel, because there isn't one. And it'll be amazing. But it's another example. You get to gain an amazing experience, or you get to lose that by not coming. Now, the next one is the pain of the process. So we've got the pain of the loss, and we have the pain of the process. What do most people do? Why do people cheat in relationships? Why do people go to the chippy tea over cooking the food? Why do people gamble? Why do people take drugs? Why do people drink? Why do people stay in the toxic relationship to avoid the conversation? Why do people stay in the job but keep moaning about it? Because people seek pleasure to avoid pain. The pleasure of the chippy tea. I'm on one about this chippy tea, aren't I? The pleasure of the chippy tea over the pain of going to the supermarket and actually cooking a healthy meal for the family. If that woman who inquired watches this video, she is not going to like me very much. She won't. She'll never join anyway. She'll never have time to watch a video. Too busy eating chips. It's why people gamble to avoid work. This is why douchebags like me put so much money into cryptocurrency, which is now probably with some lovely gentleman on his yacht somewhere with my 50 grand sailing around the Maldives. What was I doing? Seeking a quick win. Seeking money without doing any work to avoid the harder work, to avoid the pain of the work. People stay in the toxic relationship to avoid loneliness. Who's done that? Who's been in a relationship because they didn't want to be on their own? By the way, guys, I am doing all the relationship trainings, but I'm not going to do them live. I'm going to pre-record them because it's quite deep and it's not really a vibe to be delivered live. But I've finished the notes for them all now and they are going to be done, but they'll be pre-recorded and then sent to you guys. So why they stay in the dead-end job? To avoid the pain of change. It's why people stay silent to avoid awkward conversations. Put your hand up if you have the habit of doing that. How many times have you been in a situation where you've wanted to say something and you've just gone, oh no, because I'm worried about the outcome. I'm worried about the person. It's why we avoid things that are tough. Avoid things that are different. Okay? Because we're avoiding the pain of the process. As I said, this next event is a perfect example. 30 hours out of your life away from phone screens, having the experience of your life with amazing people, doing things you've never done, including firing guns. But some people will avoid it because they think it's too tough. It's too far to drive. Jan, is it too far to drive from Sheffield to Wales? No, I don't think so. By the way, I'm just going to celebrate Jan for a minute. Jan drove 700 miles, okay, on Saturday to save a dog's life that was going to be put down, who is now her new dog. It's called Darth Vader. No, it's not. It's called Vader. What an amazing woman. What an amazing story. So yeah, I don't think Sheffield to Wales, which is approximately 3 hours, is too far to drive. And it's only 30 hours, so we can go down on Saturday, back on Sunday, be back for Sunday dinner. So there's no pleasure without pain. And again, that's not a sadomasochist sexual statement. It's a statement in terms of good experiences in life, in terms of fat loss, in terms of career movement, in terms of learning, in terms of experiences like this event. There's no pleasure without pain. You have to go through some form of pain to get to pleasure. You have to go through the pain of the gym to have a great body. You have to go through the pain of learning to communicate to feel mentally okay. You have to go through the pain of having awkward conversations that might make you feel uncomfortable, very different to fear, if you want the outcome that the conversation's leading to. But there will be very little pleasure without some form of pain, and seeking pleasure or getting distracted by pleasure will almost always lead to more pain. Does that make sense? This is why I've said before, most people, when they give it the, I can't get motivated, I've lost motivation, I can't seem to get myself going, I'm stuck in a rut, they haven't lost motivation. They've got distracted by pleasure. You start out on this journey and you start tracking your food and you start eating healthy and you start nailing it and you start doing well, and then, boom, Sharon pops up and she says, I really need a friend, can you come to mine? So you go, and then you have 4 bottles of Prosecco, and then that leads into eating crap on Sunday. And then on Monday, you're like, I've lost motivation. You haven't lost motivation. You got distracted by Sharon and went back to a load of old habits, drinking wine on a Friday night, putting the world to rights. And now you don't feel motivated because you've been on the piss and you've been eating crap all weekend. You haven't lost motivation. You just went towards this. This is why, massive with guys, a man who lacks purpose, which is why the phrase says a man in it, a man who lacks purpose will always seek distraction in pleasure. Every man. So we have to find the purpose. We have to find the meaning. Right, number 3. This is a strange one. So we have the pain of loss, which is what holds us back, leads to fear and leads to procrastination. We have the pain of the process, aka doing the work. But also, I can't quite get my head around this one, but I know I experience it. Pain of the outcome. Pain of actually getting the thing. Fucking hell, what if I ask the girl out and she says yes? How will I handle that? What if I go for the job and I get the job? How will I handle that? What if I start the business and it's really successful? Can I handle being successful? What if I go to the gym, start eating healthy, stop drinking, and I get my dream body? Can I handle my dream body and the attention it'll get me? Can I handle being a millionaire? And if I become a millionaire, will I stay one, or will I self-sabotage and lose it all? More ADHD than normal people, although I don't see myself as normal. I see myself as more superpowered than normal people. But classic ADHD self-sabotage is the opposite. So most people, when their life is a mess and they're messing everything up and they are not happy in their job, not happy in their relationship, just not happy, full stop. 75% of the British public, probably. That's when they just self-sabotage because they're unhappy. I don't like my soul-sucking life. I don't like my soul-sucking wife or husband. I don't like my life. I don't like my wife or husband. I don't like my job. My kids drive me mad. Everything in the world's bad. Cost of living this. I'm even going to get involved in a war about Ukraine and Russia, which has nothing to do with me. Basically, anything negative that I can find on social media, I'm going to rant into my newsfeed about it. I hate my life. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to the pub every night. And every weekend, I'm going to get as foobarred as I physically can to try and forget about how much I don't like my life and what's happened and whose fault it is and all men and women are arseholes and everyone in the world's cheat and all rich people are evil and all the things that people say. But sometimes, especially with ADHD, it works the other way. And this is relating back to, I knew I'd find the point in my head and come back to it. This relates back to the pain of the outcome. So when I'm smashing it and everything is amazing, that is my most dangerous point, and when I have to be aware of never slipping back into old habits, because my brain is unsettled when it doesn't have problems to solve. So most people escape when they're in pain, whereas I'll actually escape when I'm in pleasure. Does that make sense? Because my brain doesn't have a problem to solve. It doesn't have something to fix. And if it's not got something to fix, it doesn't know what to do. So it'll be like, I know what I'll do. Even though everything's amazing, let's go and fuck my own life up for 24 hours. And then I've got something to fix. Sound. Now I can get back on with my mental health because it's in a mess. So different for different people. Most of you guys will experience the opposite of that. So And as I said, often if I do the work to get the thing, will I be able to keep the thing? So this is when it's the pain of the outcome. So probably not one you've thought of. So have a think about and handle where those three pains are. So am I not taking action because the pain of the loss or what I think I might lose? If so, you know now how to journal that out and focus on everything you have to gain, not everything you have to lose. Once you've done the two lists, destroy the one of what you have to lose and read the one of what you have to gain every single morning. There's the pain of the process. So again, simple journals on this. Am I seeking pleasure to avoid pain? And just remembering that anything that you have to go through that's great is going to be a little bit painful and a little bit tough. Nothing will ever come for easy. Not making money, not losing weight, and not being in happy flowing relationships as well. If you think a happy relationship is a perfect relationship, it's not. A happy relationship is an authentic relationship where we face challenge. Two people are never going to be identical. You're always going to challenge each other's version of the world. That's what you have to get good at, but I'll be going through that in the relationships training. So to sum up, let me know in the comments if you're watching on YouTube, #replay, or I'd be really interested if you could just reply to this question about what's been your biggest take home so far. Really helps me get into what you guys are feeling from the trainings. So what is and I'm going to share with you my biggest fear now as well, by the way. I've got three. Can't have just one. So the only way to overcome fear, which is not really fear as we've discussed, the only way to how can I phrase this better? The only way to get comfortable with being uncomfortable, the only way to get comfortable with going through discomfort is to practice it. It's the same as everything else. How do you build muscles? Reps. How do you earn money? Reps. How do you learn? Reps. How do you learn to write copy? Reps. How do you work to do live videos? Reps. If you saw my live video or a reel from 2017, I think all of you would actually wet your knickers or Y-fronts or boxers or sofas if you commando. Anyway, so now I've done 2, 3, 4,000. Guess what? They don't make me feel afraid. First time I DJ'd, shaking like a SH1T'ing dog. First time I did one of the events, all nervous, but you go through the discomfort to get to the good stuff. And the only way you can do it is seek it out and practice it. So if you're struggling with any of this, what I want you to do this week and these next 2 weeks is seek out discomfort. Write down a load of uncomfortable conversations with people you've been putting off and just have those conversations. But just treat it like a game. Take the power away from it. Jan, I know you're watching, I can see you. This is what we need to go through with you with the business. How do we overcome a fear that everybody has as a business owner, which is asking people for money, which is so strange when it's why we started a business. But whether it's me as a coach or Jan as a dog trainer or anyone, we get this horrible nerve thing, even though we know we're great at what we do and we're valued, of dropping the Mother Teresa syndrome of wanting to help everyone for free and having the strength and the power in the conversation to ask for money and what we're worth. And here's the kicker: be okay with any outcome. That's how I run the sales process now. First of all, I figure out what the person's problem is, diagnose it like a doctor. Then I figure out if I think I can help them. Then I figure out, do I like them? Do we have shared values? Is working with them going to be fun? Are they going to fit into the team? And if all those 3 questions are yes, I'll tell them what the investment is. And if they decide to join, that's up to them. If they don't, cool too. No emotional attachment to it whatsoever. No emotional attachment to the outcome. That takes time and practice. So again, Jan, what was building into there? You're going to have to get really good at that. Really good at asking the question, reps, until eventually, it's because in the industries that we work in coaching, it's because it's so personal with the person, right? That's why. But you have to get really comfortable with that part of sales and asking for money. Because if you don't ask for none, you'll never get any. You think how different it is in the service industry. Like, let's think of a female name. Jane. Sorry, Jane. Let's say Jane wants teeth veneers, or she wants breast implants, or I don't know, any form of cosmetic surgery. Person on the other end of the phone, when it's $7,000 to get your teeth done, or $10,000 to get your tits done, or whatever it is, they have no emotional attachment to asking for that money. The price is just the price. That's it. And that's where you need to get to. Does that make sense, Jan? And it's just reps and reps and reps and reps and reps. So it might be, if you're working in sales, or if you go into the gym, don't know why I'm doing this with my hand, it's the only one that works, or anything that you're currently have a fear of doing, the only way you're going to get better at doing it is repetitively. If you have a fear of rejection, ask 10 women out every day, or 10 men, or 10 unicorns. And guess what? Once 15, 16, 17, 18, 20 have said no, trust me, you won't have as big a fear of rejection because you'll just become normal to it. And that's what we have to get used to. The reason why we don't ask for the money in a sales scenario, or the money that we're worth, is because we're afraid of being told no. And if we're told no, what does it do? Triggers our innermost fear that we're not good enough, and that as a result, we won't be loved. Probably going to say that for the rest of my life. So, other ways, right? Lost my notes. So, other ways to overcome it is stop feeding it. Stop feeding your fears. Stop giving power to it. Stop thinking about the outcome and how you might feel if it does or doesn't happen, and just focus on falling in love with the process. Go to the gym because you love your body to be healthy, not to lose weight. Work on the sales because you're practicing confidence, not because you want or need the money. Ask the girl or the boy out because you're practicing your confidence, not emotionally attached to the outcome. But other ways people feed fears as well. Massive at the minute. Media. We feed our fears. Older people, like most people who are in here's nan and granddad now, I'm being very cautious with how I word this, not wanting to offend anyone. Jan, stop laughing. Fuck me. Do they feed their fears? They get up in the morning, and in fact, I'm absolutely bewildered that my granddad was such a warrior based on his habits, because 3 daily habits he had was getting up in the morning, going and buying a newspaper, reading the newspaper, coming home, watching the news, watching the 5 o'clock news, and then watching the 10 o'clock news before he went to bed. Maybe the media was a little bit different then, I don't know. I can't remember what it was like when I was 12 years old. But Jesus, you did that now, you'd want to throw yourself under a fucking bus by the end of this week. Because it's all fears. Oh God. Social media at the minute, things like the Sheffield Star. Every day all they'll talk about is someone's got stabbed. I mean, 19 million other positive things happened in Sheffield on Wednesday afternoon. But no, let's talk about the group of Somalis that all stabbed each other up outside H&M or wherever it was. I don't know, Primark. That completely isolated incident. Wasn't even two groups of people isolated. We'll talk about that. Then we'll talk about what's going wrong with money. And then we'll talk about what's going up with money. And then we'll talk about basically anything in the world that's negative. Let's talk about it, because that's what people like reading. So they're actually feeding their fears. Half the shit that we start to believe isn't even real. Okay? And if we stop feeding our fears, apart from squashies, what else can we start feeding ourselves? It's the opposite of feeding yourself fear. Feeding yourself courage. Celebrating your wins, listing your wins, focusing on what you have to gain, focus on what you are doing well, focusing on all the obstacles that you've overcome and how strong they've made you believe you are. You know, this is why, only because I'm looking at you two, I never know what you guys can see on the screen. I don't know if you guys can see each other. Obviously, Jan and Stephen, with a PH, overcome, battled, winning the battle, whatever way you want to look at it, with cancer. So how is that not the most insane form of feeding courage? As an example for you guys to remember. So that's how you're talking about this thing that you've done that's so incredible. So I can feed myself stuff about this little fucker, which I'm not even going to talk about anymore because it's doing my head in after yesterday. That's it. I'm not doing it. I've already ranted it out to Jan, it's all right. Or I can start thinking about the things I've already overcome, the adversity I've already defeated, the miles I have run, the challenges I've faced. And I can also use other people. So I'm going to feed on that story a little bit more as I'm feeding my courage. Well, I don't have cancer, do I? Just a gammy shoulder and a gammy neck and some pain. So get a grip. What's that called? Perspective. Am I dying? No. Are my limbs healthy? 95%. Can I walk? Can I breathe? Have I got food on the table? Now what we're building into gratitude. Gratitude, perception. But now I'm starting to feel a little bit better about the situation. Because I can feed my mind with, I might never be able to lift weights, drop down to 10 or 11 stone, not be able to do the things that I want to do, not be able to do the special forces selection, not be able to do any of the stuff that I had on the radar for the next 12 to 24 months, including stuff with music, including stuff with the army. And I can start feeding myself that over and over and over and over again until I want to jump off a fucking cliff. Or I can start feeding myself courage, focusing on what I can do, what I have achieved, what I have overcome, what I have to look forward to. Simple things that I can gain pleasure from, like Pokemon battles in pub car parks at 8 o'clock at night in the middle of Creswell, which was the roughest fucking pub on this earth, by the way. If anyone's ever been to the Black Diamond in Creswell, sorry to anyone drinks there who owns it, please don't hunt me down and beat me up. But yeah, whew, I wouldn't want to be there much after 8 o'clock, let's say. So I get the point, yeah. I always hope that these personal stories that have involved in you guys and myself and everything makes them really make sense. But can you see how we can feed our mind one or the other thing? We can feed it anxiety, stress, worry, fear, and all of these things, or we can feed it courage. But that's a choice, right? So if you suffer fear, this is this is a big one, this, right? Not to word this, but don't word. Yeah. So if you let your fears control your life and stop you from taking action, who does this affect? Who does this affect apart from you? Does it affect your loved ones? Does it affect people in your life you care about? Does it affect your kids, your partners? Of course it does. It's a great way to spin it. Overcome your fears for people, other people. Like the amount of, this triggers me as well. I might need to read emotional intelligence again at this point. The amount of parents that tell their kids they can achieve anything they want, do anything they want, be anything that they want, and everything in between. Yet for the last 20 years, they've been talking about how much they hate the job that they have that they've never left. They sleep in separate bedrooms because their relationship is completely dead, apart from a financial and house arrangement. They're overweight, they have no goals, no hobbies, their mental health is on the floor, but they keep telling their kids how amazing they can be and how they can achieve anything they want. How fucking hypocritical is that? Or contradictory? So you're saying to one person, oh, you can achieve anything you want, but I've never been able to overcome the fear of leaving my job. Or I've never left the unhappy relationship for fear of causing the pain. Now, if you could flip that, and it's not too late for any of us, it certainly wasn't for me at points, but here's another twist, right? So you can beat yourself up a little bit there by saying, actually, by preaching to my kids or loved ones about what they can do that I'm not doing is hypocritical as a fuck. So let's stop being a preacher and start being a leader, start being a role model, start being an example, not a lecturer, not a person with no integrity who lectures on something but doesn't live by those rules themselves. And again, flip it again. Who would be impacted if I had more courage, more strength, more motivation, more drive, more happiness, more gratitude, more energy? Everyone in your life would be impacted in a positive way. Everyone around you. People would make an effort to be around you. Good people would be magnetized towards you. Bad people would be triggered by you and probably mock, judge and laugh you. But guess what? So fuck, you got lucky getting rid of them. So stop feeding your mind fear, start feeding it courage. Leverage how it impacts your loved ones if you don't take action, and leverage how it impacts them if you turn into the best possible version of you because you're willing to let go of the identity. We're back to the start of the old person that's not serving you because you want to take on the new identity of the new person, and you understand that action builds courage, action builds change, action builds confidence, ABC, and that action is the only answer. So I'm gonna finish with a little bit of a time hack. Coffee's empty. A little bit of a coffee hack for the coffee hack. A little bit of a time productivity hack. Stephen, get some of your coffee for the I'm too busy crew, aka the I can't be bothered changing crew, aka I'm still stuck to my old identity crew. I love talking about this. I can't believe that I never put it in any of my talks. I need to put it in one of my talks. I think I'm going to go to Arizona in December, by the way, to do a proper course on how to public speak with power. I don't think my current style, whilst it needs to remain the authenticity. I don't think all the swear words and calling people out on their own BS is going to quite work on a live stage formula, but we'll go on to that anyway. So, if you either get up 2 hours earlier every day, or get up an hour earlier and go to bed an hour later, or just half an hour and then maybe get up 2 hours early on a Saturday. Stop being a lazy fuck and staying in bed till 10 or 11 a.m. on a Saturday, unless you're Jan and you work late. She's still up at 6 anyway. 2 hours earlier per day. I'm going to use another example. Maybe if you stopped scrolling for 2 hours per day. That comes to 14 hours per week. I guarantee every single one of us watching this, including me, mine's worse. He's doing more than that. Now, 14 hours per week. I did this in my head. I didn't use a calculator, I promise. Is 728 hours per year. I hope I've got this right. I have got it right. Checked it 45 times. That's 30 days in a year. 30 full days if you work, get up earlier, go to bed later, stop scrolling. That's a full month of a year. That gives you a 13-month year, essentially, from where you're at now. So that is back to the perfect analogy. By stopping scrolling, by stopping not laying in and staying up late and all the toxic habits, you get to gain an extra month in every year. Guess what? That's a month when you're not at work. That's a month to work on yourself. So final things to wrap up on this one. I wanted to refresh on this. Again, if you're back to those fears, so now we have this extra month in our life, right, to do whatever we want, but we're still afraid of doing the course, going for the job, trying to get the dream body because we're afraid of the outcome and how it might make us feel and what will trigger and all of those things. So flip what if to even if. That is the best reframe you will ever have in your emotional toolbox. What if I ask Keely out and she says no? Well, even if I ask Keely out and she says no, fuck me, that took some balls to do that. I'm going to give myself a right slap on the confidence ladder. What if I go for the job and I don't get the interview? Even if I go for the job, I had a great experience practicing an interview ready for the next one. What if I try to run a marathon and I can't complete it? Even if I can't complete it, I'll still have set a PB. I'll still have done my best. I'll still have showed up for myself. You can apply that to almost everything that you're creating in your head when you're mismanaging it by accidentally feeding it fear, not courage, which we now understand and we're now going to work on. We can reframe every single one of those situations with flipping what if to even if. So the next time you experience a what if, tattoo this on the backs of your eyelids along with all those other ones I've given you. Have it somewhere. Next time this happens. Jack, what if after helping the person for free, I then tell them it's a serious investment to join the plan and they say no? Well, even if they say no, that's a win because I helped them, got a good experience out of it, got a testimonial, and it wasn't about me. I just found someone who didn't value coaching high enough to invest in it, and ultimately, as a result, wouldn't have been a good fit for the coaching plan. The investment for my coaching now isn't about the investment for my coaching and whether they say yes or no. Anyone who says no doesn't value coaching or me, and as a result, would not be a valued member of my team. Within days, they would start making excuses because they don't value the thing that they've invested for. What they really mean is, oh, if it was a bit cheaper, I'd be willing to just chuck the money in and the hope that if I give some money to someone, I get a result. Very different. So that's how I can even flip that from a what if to an even if. Oh, what if they say no and then I'm going to be skinned and then I'm going to lose my house and it means I'm not good enough and my marketing's not right and I'm not a good coach and my sales process is off. No one wants to work with me. That's where your head goes. But even if they say no, I got a great session practicing my process, finding out if someone was a good fit to join this coaching plan, and ultimately they weren't. So it was a win. Because nothing will drain your energy like having someone in your plan who isn't a good fit for your coaching, doesn't do the work, constantly makes excuses and tries to make it somebody else's fault. Nothing. It's not worth any form of money, that. Drags down the energy of the team as well. So if then we can flip it to finalize, guys. These fears, I want you to create, even though fear doesn't exist, it's just an avoidance of discomfort. I want you to create some positive fears. Who can list me a positive fear in the comment? Who can think of a positive fear? If you're watching on replay, comment #replay and a positive fear. Well, a fear of dying early if I don't take action about my toxic food, drink and drug habits. That's quite a good fear, is it not? A fear of getting myself sorted out because if not, I'm going to lose my kids because I keep letting them down. That's a pretty good fear, isn't it? Fear of asking for money because if I don't ask for money, I'm never going to get any and then I might lose my house. That's a positive fear. So we can, as well as avoiding fear, we can also use fear to empower us, which is why it's such a misunderstood subject. Now, the only thing, sorry, it was going to go on too long, this training. I skirted over a little bit of those 3 fears. But my general biggest fears, the first one was being mock judged and laughed at, which just doesn't bother me at all anymore. So I managed to overcome that one quite easily. I have another fear of causing pain to other people, which is sometimes why I still am a little bit of a pussy and allow things to go on that shouldn't, and sometimes roll over a little bit like a new Rottweiler wanting its belly tickled. When I should be standing up and fucking growling and standing my ground. And my other fear was exactly as I've said, not being good enough, not being successful, not being enough, not getting to the end of my life and knowing that I've lived my full potential, which now I'll go back to what I was talking about, which was that last one. So my only thing that I'm now afraid of, and this is what you can journal down, I don't care what people think about me. I don't care about my past. I don't care about anyone's opinions about what I've done or not done. Only thing I'm afraid of is having to look Logan in the eyes 20 years from now and tell him that I could have done more. That's it. That's a positive fear, right? That's an action-taking fear. So when we can get into that place, then we can challenge it. Because once we've used fear to empower us, realize it doesn't matter and that we can overcome it by going through it, by doing reps of fear, and then that we can begin to move on to feeding ourselves courage, not fear, realizing it's not real, focusing on what we do have to gain, what we don't want to lose, and realize that the thing that happened anyway wasn't bad because we started to use the what if, even if reframe. Then we can start to move forward. Then we can start to fill the mind with inspiration, not fear. We can fill it with visions of the future, not have it shackled by memories of the past. Then we can start to surround ourselves by people on the right mission of us and not be afraid of letting go of the losers in our life that aren't serving us and their opinions. Then we can have the courage to take action, the courage to move forward, the courage to realize that any outcome is okay. The courage to realize that any failure is just a lesson. It's the first attempt in learning and an opportunity to try again. And then we can start taking action without any fear towards the most electrifying life we've ever wanted, because we realize that there are only positive outcomes. Because either way, we succeed or we get a lesson and we're in a better position to try again. And then we can start to live the life that we want, because we've only got one life. Stop messing around playing at low levels because you're afraid. Don't be that person who's going to get to the end and say, do you know what? I could have been so much more, but I was scared of what Penelope up the road, who I don't even know if she's alive anymore, if she still lives there. I was worried about her opinion, or I was worried about the opinion of my ex, or I was worried about the opinion of my partner at the time, who ended up shagging his secretary 3 weeks later, and now we're not together. You know, all this certainty that we think we have and obsess about this opinion of others and what we think we have, which is safe and secure, isn't real. So stop being the man or the woman that stands on the fucking beach because it's safe. Get in the sea. Swim towards the sunset. Chase fulfillment. Chase passion. Don't let people hold you back. Be the example, not the warning. Feel the fear and do it anyway. Remember, action is the only answer. Remember, action brings change. Action builds courage. Action builds confidence. And wherever you are right now, you can draw that line in the sand and start to walk towards the sea. Doesn't matter what's happened, but just don't stay behind that line. Draw the line and move. Never give up. Today's a new day. Today can be your day one. Because remember this, Lee Revitt, every single black belt is nothing more than a white belt who refused to give up. Have a wicked day.